in terms of your high school journey, so you're in high school, have you ever considered working in this industry? Did you think it was fantastic? Did you go to university or college to end up where you are today? Like, what was your aspirations versus where you are today? I think that would be a fun answer.
I could start. So in high school, I think all growing up, I knew I was interested in the STEM fields. I always liked, the science and the math, and that was really interesting. So I knew, like, in my mind that I would get into something STEM. I never thought I would be building circuit boards. I really didn't even know anything about building circuit boards when I started, so it's definitely a step. I was really interested in chemistry, which is why I studied material science and engineering, because I thought it was kind of like combining some of the chemistry to something more applicable that you could kind of go out and give you lots of different options. But like Mariem said, when you kind of are sitting there and you're trying to see what your degree can do, how you can take your school degree and apply it to a job, definitely is a little daunting and when trying to find that out. So, like I said, I kind of fell into this by applying, but it's like it's STEM because it's engineering. It's you're doing testing and projects and all of that stuff. But yeah, I never thought that I would end up here. But I stayed the STEM track, which is what I wanted to.
I love it. And it seems like you're enjoying it. So it's definitely not a boring career. Yeah. And from here on, you see yourself growing inside the company, right? There's many other roles for you to end up, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think in the electronics industry, especially in the PCB, the printed circuit board industry, there's a lot of room for growth and for learning. So right now in the industry, I think a lot of the circuit board manufacturing went overseas for a while, went overseas, and we're kind of like, they're missing a little bit of a gap of knowledge of like the 30, 40-year-olds, because everything went overseas and now it's starting to come back. So we have in the industry, we have, the very, very knowledgeable people who've been in the industry for a while, and then you have a lot of the new people starting out. So they're definitely looking for talent, and there's a lot of opportunity for growth. I've been with the company for about 3 years, and I have, I've learned so much. Every day I learn something new, and there's so many different processes and small niche things that you think you know everything, and then you come across something else, and you're like, oh wow, that's cool. So definitely within the industry, within the company, I've had a lot of experiences getting to talk with upper management, the CEO of the company. So getting that exposure as well has given me, I mean, I've learned a lot more than just how to build a circuit board. But yeah, I think there's a lot of room for growth and opportunity.
So basically your advice is, in a way, to, if you're passionate about the same careers and you have a passion for working in an environment or in an industry that is ever changing, it's adaptable, there's always new things, it's fun things, working with teams, fast paced, this is the career for you. All you need to do is just enter and take it from there every day. Go.
Exactly. Go. Yeah, I knew what a circuit board was, but that's about it. So you learn as you go, and there's a lot of knowledgeable mentors that have helped me throughout, that have taught me, not just how to do it, but the reasoning behind it. So you kind of gain an overall knowledge, not just, oh, you just do it this way. And that's what it's really, really interesting about it, is it's really complex, but once you get in, you'll learn.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Mariem, your career journey, like out of high school, what intrigued you, the kind of steps that evolved, because it's a little bit different from Sophia. And that's why it's awesome, because we have different perspectives.
Yeah, So I was actually born and raised in Mexico. So I did high school in Mexico. And I always knew I wanted to come to the US for college. So that was kind of my focus, blinders on throughout college. I did, it's kind of the equivalent of AP classes. It's called IB, International Baccalaureate. So I did those honors classes in high school, all hoping to be able to, get into a good school, get a good scholarship. Same thing as Sophia, I kind of always knew STEM was my route. I was like, what career path makes me write 0 essays? And that's the one I want to take. Math sounds great. Physics sounds awesome. So I did know that was kind of my path. But in terms of, and my dad's an engineer as well. We like to joke about who's a better engineer, the industrial engineer or the mechanical engineer, just, but so he definitely was part of the inspiration, the way that I think, the way that I solve problems. And the more granular breakdown of what I actually ended up majoring in was decided by the school I ended up going to. So small school here in San Diego, fantastic school. I had an awesome experience there. But at the time, we only had industrial, mechanical, and electrical. And I knew I didn't want industrial. Again, me and my dad love each other, but butting heads. So I needed to be different than him. So between electrical and mechanical engineering had a guitar making class. So that's what decided it for me. It's like lab where I get to make a full on guitar. It was awesome. It was a super cool class. So that's how I ended up in the mechanical. But really, and I'm curious about Sophia's experience. I think once you're in the engineering route, we all end up being slightly industrial engineers because you're always looking at process improvement. You're always looking at especially in a production environment. I'd never use any of the formulas that I learned in college, but what it really does set you up for is this methodology of solving problems, right? How do you think about a problem? Scientific method. I was just talking about my cousin, to my cousin yesterday about this because he's also an engineer. We're the only 2 engineers in the family. So he's like, the rest of my siblings look at me weird when I ask these questions and I gather my data and then I make a decision, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we're just wired different, but it's a good thing. It ends up being good for teams to have people that think in this way. So yeah, that was kind of my high school to college transition, and then the selection of my career in college. And then in terms of the industry, similar, I had no idea what a BGA was. I remember studying for my interview and I was just like, okay, let me look at this website, and I saw BGA there. I'm like, what is a BGA? I have no idea. So I'm trying to do the best research I can. Luckily for me, I wasn't quizzed on any of this stuff because I definitely would not have gotten the job. But that's part of the fun. You get to learn about different things. And as long as the industry, the electronics industry keeps changing, which it will continue, right? Now we see electronics and things that didn't have them before, like footballs or whatever, right? Now we're tracking everything. Helmets, I guess, have them now too for football so that you can detect the hits, or I don't know. So as long as that keeps trending in that direction, our company will have to continue to innovate and keep changing to keep up. So that's one of the really, really fun things about an industry like electronics, or I guess for us, we're not necessarily squarely in electronics, but adjacent to electronics for sure. So it does matter when you're in an industry that you have to innovate continuously and have to come up with new things. It keeps you learning and it keeps you challenged. That's one of the big things for me for retention. If I start to get bored, then it just, it's not gonna hold my attention for too long. So it is very exciting to be in this industry. And similar to Sophia's experience, once you get your foot in the door, I found that stage to be kind of difficult, the college to the workforce transition, applying for a job, all very scary and all these things. And in a foreign country, my family's somewhere else, all these things, right? So, but once you're in a company, I think you get a lot of opportunities, and if you can be proactive about it and show interest. And that's another thing that I would say, for sure, don't pretend to show interest in something you're not actually interested in. I think people can tell, right? So there has to be something that you're genuinely interested about in the company that you're working in. And if you try to start solving problems in that area, then you'll start getting more work, and just show your interest to your supervisors, talk to your peers, try to understand what it would look like to do a lateral transfer, something like that. Once you're in an industry, it really becomes a lot easier to kind of hone in on your craft and start to learn about okay, this is what I'm good at. These are my strengths, right? This is what I bring to the team, which is a huge part of the success for your career. You need to know what you bring to the table as well. So those are some of the things that for me were like the most, I don't know, some of the best years of my life for sure, like understanding that, you know, industry where I fit, what I add to a company. And it's made my whole career very, very fun so far.